What if the same function name could do different things depending on what you pass in? That's method overloading, and it changes how you design APIs. Imagine you're building a calculator. You want an add function, but sometimes you add two integers, sometimes two floats, sometimes a list of numbers. Without overloading, you're writing add ints, add floats, add list, and your API becomes a mess of nearly identical function names. Method overloading solves this by letting you define multiple versions of the same method, differentiated by the number or type of their parameters. The runtime or compiler then dispatches to the right version based on what arguments you actually pass. You write one name, callers use one name, and the language figures out which implementation to call. This is the core promise of overloading: one name, many behaviors, zero ambiguity. Under the hood, method overloading is a form of static polymorphism. The dispatch decision is made at compile time, not runtime. The compiler looks at the call site, how many arguments and what types. It then matches that signature against every overloaded version of the method. This lookup is called overload resolution. In languages like Java and C++, the compiler builds a candidate set, eliminates versions whose parameter counts don't match, then ranks the remaining candidates by how well the argument types fit, preferring exact type matches over implicit conversions. If exactly one candidate survives, that's the one called. If zero survive, you get a compile error. If two or more tie, you get an ambiguity error. The whole process runs before your program ever executes. Overload resolution has specific rules for type matching. An exact match always wins. If you pass an int and one overload takes int, that overload wins immediately. If no exact match exists, the compiler tries implicit conversions, widening a short to an int or an int to a long. In C++, user-defined conversion operators and constructor conversions are also considered, though they rank below built-in promotions. The danger here is silent promotions, passing a float where the compiler quietly widens to a double and calls an overload you didn't intend. This is why most style guides recommend keeping overloads parameter types clearly distinct. Ambiguous implicit conversions are a common source of hard-to-find bugs, especially when adding a new overload changes which version of a method an existing call site resolves to. Not every language supports compile-time overloading. Python, JavaScript, and Ruby don't. They use dynamic dispatch, and defining a function twice in Python just replaces the first definition entirely. Instead, these languages simulate overloading using default parameters, keyword arguments, or runtime type inspection. A Python method might check isInstance on its arguments and branch internally, or use functools.dispatch to register handlers per type. This achieves the same caller experience, one name, different behavior by argument type, but the resolution happens at runtime, not compile time. The trade-off is flexibility versus safety. Python can dispatch on any condition, but errors only surface when the wrong branch runs, not when you write the call. Method overloading and method overriding look similar, but are completely different mechanisms. Overloading is about multiple methods with the same name in the same class, differentiated by parameter signature, resolved at compile time. Overriding is about a subclass providing its own implementation of a method defined in a parent class, resolved at runtime via the virtual dispatch table. Confusing these is one of the most common mistakes in early OOP code. A critical rule: in Java, the return type alone does not differentiate overloads. Two methods with identical parameter lists but different return types are not overloads, they're a compiler error. The signature that matters for overload resolution is the method name plus its parameter types, never the return type. Overloading is most useful when you want a clean, intention-revealing API that accepts slightly different inputs without forcing the caller to know about internal type handling. The Java standard library uses it constantly. Printstream.println is overloaded for string, int, long, float, double, boolean, char, and object, so you call println with anything and it works. StringBuilder.append has over a dozen overloads. In C++, operator overloading extends the same idea to operators. You can define what plus, minus, and equals mean for your own types. The sweet spot for overloading is when the operations are semantically identical, genuinely the same action, and the only difference is the input type or count. If the implementations diverge significantly, separate method names are clearer. The limits of overloading matter as much as the feature itself. Overloading on too many parameter combinations creates a combinatorial explosion that's hard to maintain. If you have 4 parameters each with 2 possible types, that's potentially 16 overloads. Varargs methods can conflict with overloads in subtle ways in Java. Autoboxing in Java, automatic conversion between primitives and their wrapper types, can cause overload resolution to pick a different method than you expect, especially when null is passed as an argument, since null is valid for any reference type. The clearest rule: prefer overloading when signatures are short, parameter types are clearly distinct, and all versions do the same conceptual thing. When in doubt, a single method with explicit conditional logic or a factory pattern is often more readable. Thanks for watching.